Hi everyone, it's Roger here from Disney Infinity and Beyond, presented by DisKingdom.com, and it's episode number 32 of our webcast, and I am joined, as usual, by Abe in Sully, California.
It's moonlit California, yeah.
Moonlight. And then right in the middle of the night, we are joined again by Travis in New York City, or near New York.
Yep, here I am.
Yeah. So at the minute, we are going to have to do a quick apology to the fact that because of daylight savings time, we're all extremely knackered, and it's early and late everywhere where we are at the minute. So it might take us a bit of time to warm up.
We're all asleep.
Spring ahead thing's gonna wreck me for about a week.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. So there we go. So on this week's show, we've got quite a couple of things we're going to discuss. So we're going to just quickly discuss Vita and these two new items being out in the UK, and then we're going to be doing our main discussion point of the this show is going to be comparing Disney Infinity to Skylanders and Amiibo. Since a lot of people on our community group have been discussing Amiibos, we thought, why not just jump straight in and do a show on it as well, since we're in that dead zone of there not being a huge amount of information. So let's kick off first off with a quick note that came in from JV yesterday. Apparently, the Vita version in the US is going to launch on May 15th. We haven't got any more information other than that. We knew it was coming in May, but now JV has said the 15th. Any quick notes you guys want to add on that?
Just also the fact that we're finally going to hear, I mean, we've been hearing more and more tweets about these two elusive Marvel Power Discs, so eventually we might hear about that soon.
What if the two Marvel Power Discs are exclusive to the Vita version?
What if?
I don't...
pitchforks and fire torches? I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, they have an exclusive character, why not give them the exclusive, just throw those two Power Discs in there?
They weren't in the images for the original starter pack, though. I have got to admit, I did find myself looking at second-hand Vitas on eBay last night and quickly decided, no, please don't do this. I was like, oh, I'll just have a look, see how much the consoles are. Yeah, no, not a good idea.
I still think I'd probably buy this expansion or this starter pack, but I still would not invest in the Vita. In fact, I think I probably might even wait until it goes on sale, to be honest with you. I
don't think I think second-hand, they're only about £40 or something like that, so they're not that expensive second-hand.
The only other thing I can think
of... That sounds heavy to us Americans. Sorry, go ahead.
It's what, $60? Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't even know. I'm not even beginning to even look. I'm not.
No, he's got enough stuff. Okay, and then we also have a little bit of news this week. On Friday in the UK, these two guys are going to be coming out, Falcon and Loki. Though some of the retailers have been sending them out early, that's why I've got them in my hand. You can find loads of videos up on our YouTube channel. I've put up gameplay and skill trees of both characters, unboxing videos, Hall of Unlocks, and tomorrow there'll be a video going up with them in the Avengers playset. I've uploaded that, but that'll be up tomorrow, so you can get to see them actually in the playset. It's quite interesting to see these guys. Falcon is really fast. What's quickly to note is, if you can't quite see it on the camera there, is he has almost like Traptanium wings, where they are very
No, don't say that.
they're completely different texture.
Translucent is the better word.
Yeah, but the Traptanium's now in my head now, you see, so there we go.
Oh, please don't say Traptanium.
So it's gonna we're in a Skylander. We've got Skylanders being discussed, so we're fine this week. And then you've got the Falcon, and then you've got Loki. Look, really cool looking figures. Falcon carry on.
So, I was gonna say, so looks like Loki is made out of Amiibo green from Luigi. Is that what we're gonna say?
Stop.
We got Luigi and Mario here. One thing Loki can do is he hovers rather than flies. You can he uses the scepter and he just hovers, so he goes up and it doesn't end, so he can just hover around the entire time. But he doesn't actually you can't go fast, so it's like literally just like the hover mode that comes up. That's pretty much all it is. Yeah, it's nobody. I don't think anybody else has that.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
It kind of like?
that's
Isn't it kind of like what Buzz could do in the first? Yeah, 1.0. He could just like
No, because this
go
doesn't
up
come
and
back
oh,
down.
but yeah. With Buzz, it's similar, but he would go immediately down. Loki just hovers. You can actually stay there.
Yeah, it's just like
Okay.
if you're an Iron Man or Thor and you go up, if you before you've hit that button to go fast, they literally just he stays in hover mode, and it's completely unlike any other characters. And it's in one way it's great because it means you can get to all the spots in a toy box, but it's like really frustrating. It's a bit like getting on Gus the Mule where you've got on a horse but you can't run. It's a bit of an odd one, but he's really powerful. He's got some really strong attacks.
Yeah,
Um,
but nobody can kick a field goal like us, the meal. Just saying.
I don't even, I've never even seen the movies. I have no idea. And then
Oh, he
Falcon.
does it in game too, though.
Falcon is really fast, but I've found that his attacks, especially his sort of feathered attacks, unsurprisingly, are pretty weak. So that's and also Loki has like a decoy mode for his finisher, which is a bit like Nick Fury. So it's a bit. I'm not that keen on that one. I like a big explosive kind of kill enemies rather than it's just that's my personal opinion.
I think Falcon was not necessarily added to be like a really strong character like Loki. I think Falcon
Makes
was
sense.
added towards the end of its list, and it's like, oh, this is the character we want to put in because it's fun, and they gave him the original look instead of the new Captain
The
America
movie.
movie look, which I thought was pretty cool. And apparently that new disc, when and if it comes out, well, now when it comes out because they're saying it's coming out, will make him look like or look more like the Captain America version, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that they're giving a nod to the old animated cartoon.
Well, it's not even old, is it? It's still the brand new cartoon they've got on TV at the minute is that he's based on, and the comic book.
It's still the older design though. That's
It's
been
the old
the
look,
Falcon design for a while.
Okay, so that's that. And they're out in the US. I believe is it the 24th of this month?
24th, yes, yep.
Yeah. So be able to add these two, and also when you pop them both down, you get to unlock the Star Wars Speedster officially, and you can then use it. And there's a little area in the superhero area that you can go and look at the vehicles and stuff. It's just great to have the Star Wars Speed out properly. So
I just wish they had something in that cavern.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
old cave is nothing. Yeah, it sucks.
it's a bit of a kind of like,
Yeah.
why didn't they do that? Okay, I think that pretty much rounds up, like I said, the new stuff. We've done quite a lot of bits and pieces on the Falcon and Loki. You'll find all that on the YouTube channel. And so a quick note to say before we get on to a discussion, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up as well. That's really useful. If you're listening to us on the iTunes version, remember to subscribe there, and also give us a review. That would be really helpful for us as well over there on iTunes. And also you can get in front of us on all of our social links. I'm not going to list all of them because we've got millions of them. Okay, so let's start off with our feature topic of the day, which is going to be Amiibos, Skylanders, and Disney Infinity. We're going to look and sort of try and compare them and sort of pick up the good points, bad points, and just have a sort of general discussion, and also feedback some of the stuff from some of our readers and listeners, etc., who've got back to us about this. Okay, so I'm going to throw this over to. I think we're going to start off with Travis. Okay,
Oh, great.
yeah, because you've got
Yeah.
you've got the Skylanders, haven't you? So let's just quickly run through on our own things. So you've got a couple of the Skylanders games, and you've got quite a lot of Skylanders figures. Is that right?
I started going into Skylanders really hard just before Disney Infinity, due to me starting going to Toy Fair, and I started, getting to know the brand, and I really liked the brand. This past year, I decided to, unfortunately, get out of Skylanders because I was collecting it more than I was playing it, and I'm still like 3 games behind. So there's no way to afford it. It got to a point where they have at least 4 to 5 different versions of certain characters. and just the sculpture's just that much different, which started getting on my nerves. And they make it so you need certain characters to get to certain levels on the board. Yes, like Disney Infinity, I understand that, but it's a little different. It's more collector based. They have they have 60 some odd characters usually per round, or round per game. So it's just a game that I have to just unfortunately get out of. So.
Okay. You've got a few Amiibos behind you there, but you haven't got a Wii U, is that right?
No, these two are actually ones I decided to get when I saw in a GameStop. It's Mega Man, and over there is Sonic. And I got those two because those are some of my favorite characters growing up. Probably one of my top favorite characters of all time is Sonic. So I got them as shelf sitters.
Yeah. That's a dangerous game.
If you notice, they're still in packaging because I'm still debating whether it's worth collecting them as shelf sitters.
Okay.
I'm kind of gauging the market to see if it's worth it. Right now, the way that Nintendo is marketing them and releasing them, it's a slippery slope that I don't know if I'm going to get fully involved in. So.
Okay. So I'm going to throw that over to Abe as well. What's your experience with the other brands as well as Disney Infinity?
Okay, well, I actually saw Skylanders when they first came out. I was completely turned off. I had no interest whatsoever. The only interest I had was in Spyro, because he was, he had his own franchise game and whatnot with Sony. But I started with Infinity. Obviously, I love it. Everybody knows that. But I got into Skylanders maybe about towards the end of 1.0. And that's shout out to Paul Dart, because he got me into it.
Paul.
Yeah, and so my experience with once I gave it a shot, Skylanders was cool. It was fun. But it got to the point where one of the things that I did like about it is it had variety, but that's also one of the reasons why I don't like it too, because there's just too much of every type of figure now. Like, for example, you had your original figures, and like Travis just said, then they make more sculpts. Like, this is the third sculpt of one of the originals, Whirlwind. Then they decided to do variety, like giants, but then you also have light core figures, so that's a different variant. Then you had Swap Force came out, and then Swap Force, you can swap them with other ones, but then you also have variant. This is a variant of one of the figures. And it just kept going. Once I played Trap Team at E3, that's when I decided that I'm no longer playing it, because it actually turned me off, the whole idea of the traps. I felt like it was this huge money pit, and I thought it was only going to be 16 traps at that time, but apparently there's more than 40 of them, and I'm just like, no thanks. But to tap onto the good things about it, though, it's like this is the type of game that caters to the people who love playsets in Infinity, because it's basically a giant playset whatsoever. I mean, it's a game. It's just a game. It's just like any video game. However, they do, again, like I said, variety. They do have their own versions of playsets. You can buy separate packs, and they come with a little extra level. And then they have these additional things that I consider like power discs or whatever. But they're cool. And then Amiibos, obviously, the craze happened. I love Pokemon, so I did buy my own Pikachu, and I opened it up. And then obviously Mario, because he's the classic video game character that I grew up with. And then like one of the ones that Travis likes, Sonic. Reason why I bought him too, it kind of just reminds me of my childhood too, just growing up and playing those games. But yeah, they're good. I mean, as far as my first perception, I mean, we'll get deep into what's so different about them eventually here in this conversation. But go ahead, Roger. It's up to you now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna admit, on the Amiibo side, I I haven't delved into it at all. I've been staring at them at the stores. My wife quickly pointed out, no, I think it was like no chance in hell. So get away from them. I think might have been those words. It's just like,
Smart wife, sir.
it's like you need to get rid of all your stuff before you start something else. The Wii U is actually probably the first Nintendo console I haven't brought since the NES, way back when. So again, I grew up on all the Mario and all the cats, so I can see the appeal of the Marios and the Sonics and Mega Mans, but again, I got completely turned off with the Wii. The Wii kind of turned me off from Nintendo because I felt like so many people kind of got conned into buying a Wii, and everyone I know has got some dead Wii sat underneath the TV that they never used, and I just hated using the Wii, and I think it just turned me off from the Wii U. So the Amiibos, I like the look of the figures. I don't particularly like the look of what they're doing with them, but at least they're different. Skylanders on the other side, a bit like Abe. I actually jumped on to Skylanders Swap Force when it was about halfway through the Disney Infinity, the first game cycle, and I think it was that thing of, you've done everything in Infinity, and I was like, oh, these Infinity's been a lot of fun. Let's try Skylanders. I think I picked up a second-hand Swap Force starter pack for about $15 or something like that, and then ended up buying about 40-50 figures as quickly as possible. I just went after all the giants, there were so many sales on the giant figures, and ended up getting all the Swap Force team ones, and then I started picking up some of the giants, and I thought the actual the Swap Force video game, it was a really fun game, and I really enjoyed playing through it. It was like you say, it's a lot more of a normal video game. There's a start and an end, and you've got all the characters in between. And I really enjoyed Swap Force, so that was cool. I also got Trap Team when that came out, and it didn't have that same effect on me. I remember playing through it and going, it feels like the same game I've just played. It didn't feel like it was a massive step forward. It didn't. The storyline, and then the traps. The traps I just felt like when I was playing through Trap Team, it was like, put this in, put this in, put this in. I'm like, I haven't got all of this stuff. I've only got the 2 traps that came in the starter pack, and I'm like, I just felt too forced. Like, you need this thing, you need that, trap this enemy, and I'm like, well, I don't want to go and buy the trap. The traps to me felt like one step too far. There's enough characters and figures already without having to add 40-50 villains as and they're pretty expensive, £7-8 for essentially a figure that you can't see and you can only use for 30 seconds. So Trap Team I played it for a bit. I got about halfway through the story and just got, I think, just a little bit I just got bored of it. I didn't want to go out and buy all the traps, and I went, I can't go out and buy all these figures because there's too many Infinity figures. And I actually have, in the last couple of weeks, completely sold all of my Skylander stuff and completely jumped out of the Skylander loop because I just can't afford to do all of them. And I think in general, I think the Skylanders game was just feeling like it hadn't moved on, and the traps weren't a big enough interest for me. Doesn't mean to say that if Skylanders 5 comes out and does look good, I could end up picking it up, but I'm not going to be falling into that thing of buying more and more figures like I used to. So that pretty much runs up my background on those characters. Do you think as well that with these Amiibos that there's a big almost a nostalgia view for a lot of people maybe our age and maybe younger that view a lot of these characters, like you said, we all grew up on them and we want to buy the figures because we're used to buying them for other things, because there's a lot of people doing what you two are doing of picking up characters without actually playing the games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, for me, it's definitely nostalgia. For a lot of people that I know, it's also nostalgia. Because, like you said, you don't have a Wii U. I don't have a Wii U. And of all the people I know personally that have bought figures, I think only one of them has the Wii U. And yeah, I mean, it's cool to see a little Mario figure that could, could possibly be used in game in a certain way. But as far as getting it for playing value, I honestly don't think the majority, or it's the minority is completely just to use them in game.
Yeah.
Travis?
Well, it's interesting because the whole collecting, there's definitely more people collecting for collecting purposes, like Abe and myself. Very few I know are getting into it for the gaming aspect because there really is not much of a gaming aspect to them. They kind of, from what I understand, they kind of resemble in the Power Discs or the Event Discs kind of in Disney Infinity, and those Trapped Villains and Trap Team, where they give you bonuses or in-game like character plays, but only for a short limit of time. And yeah, you can level them up so they become stronger, I guess. So when you use them, they're better, or maybe even last longer. But it's not like you stick them down and you can play as Mario throughout an entire level. It's like an accessory.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think.
In-game,
yeah, carry on.
In-game, I don't think there is a real much of a benefit. I think it's more of a collector aspect, and I think that's what Nintendo's going for, because right now there's such a demand for some of these characters that, I mean, the hardcore collectors are paying through the nose if they can't get certain ones. There is multiple versions of certain characters coming out already. I think they're on the third or more version of Mario already, and it's been less than 6 months. And that's even crazy by Skylanders standards. I can't see, certain stores are getting one release of a certain character, and each store is getting like 3 or 4 of the character, and that's it. And then, like this past Saturday, the Nintendo store down in New York City had limited supply of some of its exclusives just for that day. So I've been down there for Nintendo events, and people were probably waiting overnight in the freezing temperatures to probably try to get some of these, because that's how crazy some of this stuff is.
Oh no, yeah, there were pictures tweeted on Twitter, obviously. There was people there since 3 a.m. I think, waiting for.
3 a.m. That's actually pretty good, considering that I've seen people wait there 2 to 3 days. So.
No, yeah, I think it's because of the cold, and plus they honestly announced it like a day or two before they were even going to do it. So, yeah. But yeah, I saw there was at least, I think it was like 15, 16 people waiting at 3 a.m., and then by the time 7 a.m. came, there was like, well over 100 people waiting. So. Yeah,
it wraps around the block almost all the time over there in Rockefeller Center, so it doesn't surprise me one bit. The insanity on some of these characters is crazy. There's one Walmart exclusive, I think it's a Gold Mario, that people are paying pre-orders on eBay for not even something that someone has in hand yet, hundreds of dollars for a pre-order, not guaranteeing even getting it. There's stipulations in the with the eBay thing that if you buy it and they can't fulfill it, they'll refund your money. It's insane.
It's that thing as well with Nintendo. Nintendo are playing a very different game with this. They're playing almost that kind of classic idea of make it short demand, make up the hype, make people want them, and that's kind of the big thing, really. I think they are manipulating the system to get people excited about them. There's that air that they're rare and they're worth more, and people are flipping them and making money off them. And it's that thing of, because of that, it's feeding it even more so. Look at the Skylanders. Almost did a similar thing with the Chaos Trap last year, where it was really hard to get. People were scalping it for like $100, and I got laughed at when I went in and saw and tried to buy one. But I think now they're on the shelves because eventually supply and demand pick up. But also they held it back to create a buzz to get people excited. And Nintendo seem to be doing that perfectly at the minute in one way, but it's also turning off maybe the casual. But it just feels like a big cash grab anyway.
It
You
is
still
definitely
can't find.
definitely a cash grab, but I don't think that it's like the Chaos Trap. And the fact is that Skylanders held the Chaos Trap to create buzz and demand. These guys are literally just releasing a certain amount and then saying, "Well, we're not reprinting more."
Yeah, it's
So
just
I think that's the difference.
So I say let's give it more structure. As far as since we're talking about Amiibos first, what do you guys see as pros to these figures, and what do you guys see as cons? Clearly, obviously, a big point that Travis just said is limited releases, leading to scalping, and also the true collector not being able to find their figures. What else do you guys have?
I mean, I think to me, I think the advantages of of the sort of amiibos is first off they can be used in different games. I think there must be a few games. There's lots coming up in the process where you can use them on other games. So there's some value to the fact that you could put down Mario in Smash Brothers and he'll come in and help you. Pop him down in Super Mario Kart, you get to change his outfit. And pop him down in Toad or something like that, and you something. But not all the characters work in every single game. And also, I believe each figure can only be set to save data for one game. So if you want to take it onto another game, you've got to reset it or do something different with it to save the information. So it's a bit sort of cumbersome by the sounds of it. But I do like the aspect that they're slapping it onto other games. But then sometimes it's starting to feel like you say, it's like a power disc because all you're getting is an outfit change or you're getting a bonus for 30 seconds. Rather than that value of you don't play with the character, you don't get to. And I think that's the huge difference because it's not like Skylanders or Infinity where that you play as a character, you have that like connection with it. It's just something that comes in on the side and helps you out kind of thing. Travis?
I can't see much of a pro as far as gameplay with them. The only pro I can see is from Nintendo's side that they're getting a lot of people buying them and paying through the roof on the secondary market for them, which doesn't necessarily help Nintendo, but it helps the craze. Because I have friends that have gotten involved in these just to collect them because of the craze. And I think more and more people, as much as they're turning certain collectors off, I think they're bringing more collectors in to collect. And, okay, if, let's say they lose a collector after a while because they can't collect the rare pieces like Meta Knight or Lucario or whatever, but in the process they gain 7 people or whatever to buy the characters that are sitting on the shelf pegs as either an investment or because they like the look of them, then they're making out in the long run. But
I think there's always that worry to me of when it's like, I think maybe being burnt too much with other collectibles now is, term of an investment. Well, these are toys. These are mass-produced toys or items. The fact that in 6 months to a year's time, you could walk into a Toys R Us and see every single character on the shelf at a discounted price, right? So everything that these things that people are paying hundreds of dollars for, they could eventually just be on the shelf and you can go pick them up if you wait long enough. And we've seen it with so many times with other collectibles where at this precise minute they're worth that, but that doesn't mean they're going to keep rising. This is not gold where it's going up in value. It can go down. They could be $5 in 2 years' time in the store because everyone's jumped off the bandwagon. So I always get a bit worried that people are sort of using this as an investment and keeping them to save them for later. When in all honesty, they look at Infinity. There isn't a single figure there which you really couldn't have got almost at retail or less.
Yeah. See, for me, I mean, I like these figures as far as sculpt goes. I mean, they're very well detailed. The paint's very well done. It's very true to the character. At the same time, I dislike these dumb little pegs that you put on a lot of them. I think Link has one, but they even colored it, and it just makes no sense.
Doesn't it look like Link's urinating if held at a certain angle?
Absolutely.
I think that's the.
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, definitely, they're cool looking figures. I am one of those that like saw it as, ooh, I want to collect them, and immediately got turned off in the rarity and how hard it is to find certain ones. I do not want to pay more than, I know, retail and a half for a figure. You know what I mean? I'm not going to spend 5 times the amount that you would spend on a figure. It's just not. It's not something that I would want to do. Did we just lose Roger?
Yeah, looks like we lost Roger.
We're still live, so I believe we're still recording. But anyways.
Okay.
So carry on. So yeah, it's just it's not something that I want to do. I don't want to go ahead and just feed into this hole. I honestly feel like it's a big mistake that Nintendo's releasing them in smaller quantities. Yeah, I do see it's helping them out in hype-wise and getting more people to want to buy them, but I just feel like they're losing out on so much because these are very lovable IPs from people's past. You know what I mean? They're things that people grew up with and have so much nostalgia. And the fact is, they have so much untapped potential from all these people who do love these franchises who can't get a hand on this figure per se. So I think that's a big mistake. And lastly, on these amiibos, I do like the fact that they're available for a lot of games, but the fact is, it is a glorified accessory. Nintendo has said you can definitely play any game that you buy that can use amiibos without needing an amiibo. So it's pointless. It's just a power disc. It's optional. You don't need it. But yeah, go ahead, Travis. I think you had something to say.
There might be a light at the end of the tunnel. There are reports saying that it's possible that some of these characters that are, quote, limited right now are limited because of the port strikes that have been happening across the United States, where
That's true.
The port workers were not allowing, not letting the cargo just sit there in containers. They weren't processing the cargo. So some of these characters, I'm not saying all, but some of these characters could see more releases down the line strictly for that. I'm not saying it's going to be an ongoing thing, but I do know that a lot of product from a lot of companies we're going to see being pushed out in April and May. And I'm not just saying for Disney Infinity or Skylanders for Amiibos, but in general. You'll see the toy company and the book companies and stuff like that. You're going to see a big push in April and May to get product out there because the stuff has been sitting and being delayed because of the port strikes. So
yeah, it actually piggyback on what you said. That's a very big example. That is the 2 figures behind you, which is Sonic and Mega Man, because these sold out really fast and they were hard to find, and then now they're everywhere. You can find them everywhere.
Unfortunately, that kind of makes my collectability of them even less. But
yeah, exactly. Well, I honestly wanted to open mine, so I was like,
well, mine's probably gonna get opened. I just want to find the right place to put it because I'm thinking about breaking out one of my old Sega Sonic games and displaying it with it.
Oh, nice.
So
do you have what was it called, like Game Gear or whatever it was called? Do you have one of those?
Oh, that's
I had the original Genesis, and
nice.
I'll have Sonic. I think I have Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Tails, Sonic Spinball, which is probably my all-time favorite. If you have never played Sonic Spinball, find it. It's great.
I did remember buying that one. Yeah, that was good.
It's Pinball and Sonic. You can't go wrong, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I'm just gonna just kind of give you a few words of what some of our community members have said. Just to kind of so Conrad said, personally to him, he finds Disney Infinity more intriguing. He said some of the Skylanders before Infinity was announced, played it a few times, but not a big game. It didn't hook him. I only ever made it through the 3 levels of the game. I was initially afraid Disney Infinity would be the same way, but I So, right. He always liked the Skylanders figure, however, they always reminded him of action toys, and that was part of the appeal. There's a positive and negative to both, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have what feels more like a collectible display in my house. I would buy Skylanders because of the game, they look cool, but I'd buy Disney Infinity figures even if I didn't play the game. You don't hear so much of that with Infinity like you have with Amiibos, where people buying it just for the sake of the character.
No, I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that because that happened a lot with Marvel, believe it or not. Once Marvel came out, you had a lot of those comic book fans who like, oh, geez, I want to buy a Venom. He looks amazing. Or actually, I remember when I went to the midnight event for Toys R Us for Marvel superheroes, and the people who were there were literally just buying figures that they liked from Marvel. They didn't have the game. They didn't have any interest in buying the game. They were just getting it for the collectability of the figure. So yeah, I disagree with that statement. But I mean, is it as big as the Amiibo? Obviously not. No. But that's only because again, these things are so damn limited. So
yeah. Conrad also said the characters. He said, let's face it, Disney Infinity has more relatable characters. You don't need to be a gamer to love the Disney Infinity characters. I still don't know the names of all the Skylanders I own, that is I think one of the biggest things with Skylanders is they've had to create their own characters, and so there's no that instant recognizable. If they put out a figure for Disney Infinity, and even Nintendo in some ways, they put a character out and the character's recognized. They put Sonic on the shelf and people know who Sonic is. When they put what's his name, a string of Gil Grunt on the shelf, people don't know who he is unless you play the game. And that's always been its advantage because they can create new characters and do new things with them, but also it does mean that they've tended to redo lots of characters because it costs a lot of money and a lot of things and a lot of development time to create a character. But it gives them flexibility. It's probably the one out of all of the sort of things that we can sort of do. Okay, so let's have a look at what else. So Conrad also said the gameplay might be a little bit irrelevant here. He tends to like playing games quick. He likes us to jump in and jump out. And I think that's kind of it. That was the main point with his. Polish put that the pros of Amiibo includes because they're Japanese style, they're very well made. They're franchise characters, and there's not a lot of merchandise on some of the characters, which is a true one. The cons include controlled artificial supply and demand, scalper's paradise, and figures are being retired on the first wave. Okay, and Skylanders, he put the pros are easy to market character designs, children friendly. The characters do not have a lot of high recognition outside of Spyro, and there's too many on the market, which means there isn't a lot of distinction between when it comes to the characters. And he said for Disney Infinity, Disney, Marvel, Star Wars are iconic franchises and easy access point. He said the toy box is a bit like Minecraft, and also you can use skill trees and possessions. But the disadvantages include they're the most expensive out of the free toys to life, awkward compatibility issues, and the toy box needs a lot of fixes. And finally, Matthew said Amiibos and Smash are basically purchasable computer punching bags, which is a con for me personally. Okay, so that's the feedback that we had off of our community. You guys agree with any of those items? I'll throw that over to Travis.
I'll throw it over to me. Well, I mean, we finished Amiibos and we really didn't get into much with Skylanders or Infinity. Trying to figure what I definitely agree with Conrad as far as the characters for Skylanders. Some of the characters are really great. I enjoyed playing with the characters, and I basically can tell you each and every character that are out there for all 4 games. But the only character that people would know from their history would be Spyro. He was the only one that appeared in a game before that. Maybe some villains here and there, but he was the only one that had a previous following and previous games released. So when you're looking at the marketability of these characters, you actually have to put the characters out for Skylanders and have them out for a while before you can start having them appear on lunchboxes or stickers or snack fruits or whatever else they decide to do. They're just now here in the United States with, I believe, Kellogg's release, or General Mills, I think, releasing Skystones inside cereal box packs. And Skystones is a game that you play inside the second game and forward, from Giants onward. So Skystones has been out for like 2 years before they finally decided to put them into a cereal, component as far as marketing for kids. Disney Infinity doesn't need that. Disney Infinity has, when they put a character in, the character already has a history. Granted, the Maleficent we have is the Angelina Jolie Maleficent, which is a variation of the classic Sleeping Beauty Maleficent, but people are still familiar with her. So I think marketing-wise, Skylanders has a harder time getting the character out there in people's hands, and, basically they have to create the need for the character rather than the want for the character. With Skylanders, my biggest gripe with more of the games is, in Giants you had areas where only Giants could access. In Trap Team you had areas where, Swap Force, you had areas where only Swap Force characters, and then areas where only Giants, and then areas where only Elements. In Trap Team now you have where only Trap Team, only certain Trap Team, only certain Elements, only certain Swap Force, and only certain Giants. So it used to be where you could get through the entire game with the same starter pack, and you didn't have to technically buy any characters to get through the original gameplay. Now you're required to purchase all these characters before you can even finish the game.
I think you can still finish the core Trap Team game without them. But I think what I found was that it's the constant. You can't go in that gate. You can't trap that figure. You can't go in there. You can't go in here. You can't go. And so, as long as you keep on the main road, it's fine. But you can't take any detours. You can't collect anything else.
Right, but
it feels.
But gameplay is smaller and smaller because they're adding so much extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Travis though. Like it kind of feels like the direction that the video game industry is going in general. Like having to buy these extra things kind of makes me feel like it's like the DLC of Skylanders. Like you can't access this part of the game without buying this extra figure on the side. So it's kind of like, with any game, you buy DLC and then you can access that part of the game. And that is kind of a letdown, and especially a put down with all the traps, in my opinion.
I think with like Infinity, in the first game you had your adventures that you could do, and you had little chests, and also in the playsets you had a few challenges. In 2.0, you kind of did away with that. The toys that you could unlock were very generic, and also there was only seemed to be a few challenges per playset. There wasn't as many as there wasn't even a challenge for every character that could use the playset, which I thought was a bit odd because I really liked that feature. But it's subtle. If you didn't have that character, it was very subtle. You didn't feel like you'd missed something. Skylanders was buy this, buy that, and I think that was what was. But I do love the fact that when I was playing Swap Force, you had to keep swapping your characters. So you'd sit there and you'd play, and you'd have your characters next to you, and you'd be swapping them over and doing stuff. And whereas in when I was playing Disney Infinity, you could just play the entire playset with one character. You never had to touch the other ones. And whereas in 2.0, there's still that thing of having to swap around a bit more. You can still do it, but you might if the toy box says you've died, you've got to put another character on. There's a lot more swapping, and I think they brought that from Skylanders, and I think that works good. I do like that function, that there's a little bit more swapping, and you need a few characters to play. Otherwise, what's the point of having a box full of 70 characters if you can do it all with one?
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, just having the not only the need, but actually the want, like the actual internal want to actually play other characters. That's something that Swap Force did very well, in my opinion. And obviously 2.0 learned from that for sure. Travis, I don't know.
Well, one of the biggest things I think with Giants I heard was, and I played Giants, Skylanders Giants, and I really liked it. And I heard Swap Force was pretty good. I have it, never even started playing it. That's why I'm trying to get out, because I haven't even played 2 of the 4 games yet. Trap Team kind of took a step backwards, and what got some people at launch was people got this game and they got everything at launch that they could play with the game. Granted, it wasn't everything that was announced, but it was enough. And then they start playing the game, and they come across question marks. These question marks ended up being 2 new elements to the game. So instead of 8 elements, now you have 10 elements. They added the light element and the dark element. But they didn't release anything on the onset. So even if you completed the game with what you had, which a lot of people try to do, they had to... Now Swap Force is making them, after they get to be a completist, get this stuff that's coming out later, and go back in and finish certain areas. You know, they purposefully did that, which I think is okay, but I know at the same time it really upset a lot of people because they want to go in knowing what they have. And Swap Force did...
Yes, carry on.
Well, I know that before this year, before launch, Skylanders told you exactly what you were getting. There were no surprises. There might have been waves released certain times, but you know all the characters going in. This was the first year that they said, oh, look, surprise, we have something new that we're going to release later. I think that upset a lot of people, a lot of adults and a lot of parents that were like, you're already making me budget money, now you're telling me there's stuff coming that I don't even know about? So...
Yeah, and you know, aside from the whole money thing, obviously the traps, you know, I already mentioned it before, the traps were a huge, like, letdown for me, but honestly, another thing that added to that for me, which was a later announcement towards before launch, was the release of those minis. Because I felt like that was just, again, another added expense and a waste and unnecessary, to be honest with you. And, yeah, it's just like you said, it's just... like I said, variety was cool at first, but now, like, it's too much, and yeah, it's a huge letdown. I myself am out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I took those minis as very much like they're just remotes. They are just versions of remotes. That's all they are. But I think there's that kind of thing of maybe. I think one of the things that Skylanders does, which is, I think is probably maybe the good thing, is they have 2 development teams developing the game. So what they will tend to do is one company does it for 1 year, the next company does it for the next year, and then so what that means is they get like a 2-year rotation. So this is why when they do this annual game, it kind of moves along, and I think they're better quality games because they've had 2 years to master it, each company. It does mean sometimes that maybe stuff from one game doesn't maybe move over to the next game as well, and there could be a slight difference. But that's been, I think, was one of the biggest problems with Infinity, was they maybe didn't have enough peak time to try and get that yearly thing done properly, where Skylanders kind of got it. I think they've done a much better job of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. Having more development time is always a plus. I think just my biggest downside as far as comparing all 3, though, is something that Travis brought up earlier. It's just basically relatability to characters. The only one that anybody could really tap to was Spyro, because there's history with Spyro. I mean, this guy, I don't even know his name. I don't remember his name. I don't know Travis right now. Thank you. Well, that's the thing. I don't really think about it, you know, as opposed to, you know, like, you know, you see Aladdin, it's like, absolutely, you know, I gotta have Aladdin, I know, or like even Pikachu or Sonic, you know, from the Amiibo side. And that's actually something that I believe is why Disney has such the advantage, regardless of, you know, the craze of the Amiibo right now, is because they have so many loved franchises.
I think as well. I think in general, Skylanders got into the game. They created this market. They created it all. And they had the first 2 years to themselves, and they got really, really popular. Then Infinity joined in. Their Amiibos have joined in. There's even other mini games with other things doing portals and characters. Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers. I think even Angry Birds and Star Wars have got little figures that kind of go on your iPad. Now the market has become saturated, and Skylanders are now shouting out in a store to a bigger audience of more, and people are spreading out, and trapped, and sort of Skylanders sales have dropped. there's a lot of competition. You know, they're all cutting into each other's pie. If you've got a kid standing there in front of all these items, the parents are going to be like, you've got to pick one, or you cherry pick. You know, that's going to be the other way. You know, you can do all of them, but you can't have everything. And that might be, you can have Mario and Sonic, you can have Spyro, and you can have, and I think that is the biggest problem now. And it could go the opposite way. They could end up killing the Toys to Life market if all these companies keep throwing as much stuff out as possible, because they literally go, right, we've got a 3-year window to get as much money as we can before this market explodes. That's one of the biggest issues across the whole range, and I do think like Skylanders are going to have to do something really big. They've got a big install base, and they've been able to keep going off that, but people are jumping onto other items. And I think this is the biggest thing, really, with the whole future of the Toys to Life market, is that if they throw out everything they've got all in the window at once, it's Nintendo are doing it. They are literally throwing all of their characters out right now, grab the money, and because if the Toys to Life category broke down by next year, they've already got all their characters, all their money, and they're done. Disney still have loads to do. They could keep going, and I think that's something that, you know, to be aware of the whole Toys to Life market, really. I don't know what you guys think of that. I'm going to throw that over to Travis.
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to go back to your comment regarding every 2 years. The reason you might think that, Raj, is because that for the third year, the third game, they lost Toys for Bob was not the developer. Toys for Bob was developer for the first 2 games and the 4th game. Now, it is assuming that they'll be back for the 5th game, but for the 3rd game, they lost those rights. Hence why we had to change in the portal from the 2nd game to the 3rd game, and again from the 3rd game to the 4th game because of peripherals and, you know, whatever licensing and stuff like that. I don't think that they're going to be doing the every other year thing as planned, because they would have done that from years 1 and 2, but they didn't. So I know there's like an issue with that, and it's not really been noted, but I don't believe Toys for Bob will. I think Toys for Bob will be back for the 5th game. Again, saying there is a 5th game, because at Toy Fair this year, Activision was very hush-hush. Usually they have a big front, a big display area. Now they had nothing. It was behind closed doors. I don't even know if they actually had anything game-wise there at the show. So I don't know.
Might be that they've got something big.
Even
So
something
they
bigger,
might have,
maybe.
because they're going to have to fight back.
But we saw nothing. I didn't see any information from any of the Skylanders sites, and I didn't get into anything as far as seeing anything new for Skylanders, and I have for the past couple of years. Even though I'm not a Skylanders site, they let me come in and look at the new stuff. They gave you an exclusive figure, stuff like that. They didn't have any of that this year. So I don't know about everything like that. I think in the future, yeah, the bubble's going to break. Nintendo's making a big cash grab right now. Disney Infinity has the best chance of going forward and not being swept up in it because of the strong base of their characters and the strong passion that some of us have with some of these characters, even more so than Nintendo. I love Nintendo characters, but I'll give those up in a second to get Baloo, or to get Scrooge McDuck, or to get, heck, even to get Bernard and Bianca from The Rescuers.
Okay, so let's throw this over to Abe, because he put his hand up here, unless he wants to go to the toilet.
What?
You have to put your hand up when you want to go to the toilet at school.
Oh no! I said DuckTales. That's all.
All right. Yeah, don't start on that.
Woo!
Basically on saturation in the market. No, Travis said exactly what I was gonna say. Is you know, the bubble may burst, but honestly, Disney would still survive, in my opinion. I still think they could continue doing this category for a while, and that's solely because it's not the fact that they have a huge amount of IP to use, or you know, variety. there's just so much emotional connection to every single franchise that they have. You know, some people might have this connection to, I don't know, to a Merida from Brave, or somebody, you know, recently with Hero. And then aside from that, from what we already have, you know, obviously we have a future, you know. We still have this coming sometime, hopefully, allegedly. You know, and that's just another huge franchise of possibilities there. And then, like we were talking in a previous speculation show, you have all these brand new animated features coming from Pixar, or new movies coming from Disney. I mean, you have so much potential. There's a Pirates 5 coming. You know, you have such a future with these IPs for the Disney company, that this game could continuously keep tapping into this well of this, not the well, it's like a pot of gold, really. They can just keep grabbing coins and shelling out these figures.
It
I mean,
seems like
even
Yeah. Oh, go
Like
over
a
it,
rolling-
Travis.
like a growing tub of oil, or like, you know, you spray an oil leak and it just continues to grow.
exactly.
I think that's the big thing to me. It feels like with Mario, with the Nintendo side of things, is, you know, we had all the Smash Brothers characters, and then they're coming out with these Super Mario World ones, and it feels, you know, like we said before, they're already like onto their fourth version of Mario. They've kind of thrown all of their characters out so quickly that, yeah, they can repackage them and remold them. But once people start kind of seeing past that and go, well, our parents go, you've already got a Mario, you've already got a Sonic, you can't have another one. Whereas if there's Inside Out, or you've got Captain Marvel or Black Panther next year, we go, well, you haven't got that one, that's fine. You know, and I think that is, and again, it might be a reason with the Skylanders. You know, you don't need your 8th Gil Grunt, you don't need Trigger Happy at the 8th time. You know, and I think, like we said, Disney have got that advantage of they've got new movies, new lines, constantly coming out. That the other brands, Nintendo certainly doesn't seem to have got any new characters in such that are known the same way anymore.
Yeah, they have one, which is I think it's Splatoon or something like that, and apparently they just announced amiibos for that at GDC. But again, it depends. This is kind of like the whole Lone Ranger or even Frozen for Infinity. They didn't know if it's going to be successful. I mean, that's the same thing as Splatoon. The game's not out yet, but is it going to be popular? Who knows?
But also that slides into the same problem that Skylanders have got. If they're launching amiibos based on new characters, they've got to sell that game to new people.
Yeah.
And then of course there's that big elephant in the room with the Nintendo stuff. You have to own the Nintendo console. Skylanders and Disney Infinity have gone, we want everybody, and we're having, you know, tablets, every console possible. If they can put it on there, you can have the game on it, and they're going after mass market, and that is, I think, Nintendo's sort of big herring is there's a huge audience of video game and people, and that you haven't got the console because they won't play as well with others. That could be a major issue in the long run as well. I don't know what you prefer that with, Abe.
That's why I think they're doing limited prints of these figures, because the fact is, you know, you are exclusive to one console. And also, Nintendo has a history of not mass-producing something to the point where they can lose money. They just do a certain amount. If the public enjoys it, the next time they do something like it, they'll do a little bit more. You know, they've had a few years of not showing profit, and obviously they can't take that much of a risk. I mean, obviously with Smash Brothers and the new Pokemon games, and also I think there was one more thing that added to it. But anyways, with those things coming out, I mean, they've been making profit now, and obviously the Amiibos have been helping that out. So yeah, it is a little concerning as far as for Nintendo not having the multi-reach of all these platforms. And just like a lot of people are asking, come on, please, can we have Amiibos in Infinity? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Travis?
The only way it will ever happen is if Disney purchases Nintendo, and I cannot see that happening in any time.
No.
in case if for anyone that hasn't maybe we have had a lot of discussion on our Facebook groups. A lot of people have been saying, well, why can't we have Nintendo games in Infinity? And they should do it. And there's a kind of thing of the Nintendo owners of looking at it going, well, why can't we have it? And yeah, it makes sense. They've got the figures and it can work. There is a number of reasons why a lot of us are like, it's not going to happen for a few reasons. Nintendo and Disney could work out a deal. They could work out a deal if they wanted to. However, they're not really in a position where, from Disney Infinity's point of view, they're not going to want to access, have all of those in Amiibos coming into their game that they're going to have to code for, and they're not making a full... Disney, at the minute, they've got enough franchises, they don't need to buy more content in. They've already got theirs. Could we see Mickey Mouse in Super Smash Brothers? There's a possibility, but at the same time, Nintendo don't tend to like having anything on any other console, and Disney are about as many people and they've kind of got two completely different ethoses on who they're going after, and I think that is a major problem. Disney aren't going to want to spend a load of time and money creating something for the only, they got a bad enough rep for 2 digital characters for a Tron, let alone if there was 50 characters on Disney on the Nintendo version. I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, for Disney, there's absolutely no need for them whatsoever to have Amiibos involved at all in their games. Especially not even throwing Amiibos aside, not even Mario in the games. The only reason why you see somebody like this in a Mario game like Smash Brothers is because this guy is Sega's, and they license him out, and they need the money. I mean, they don't make consoles anymore. Now they only make games, so obviously they need the money. That's why they license it out. But Mickey, you're not going to see Mickey in any other game. The only reason why we saw him in Kingdom Hearts, it was because it was a joint project. It was Disney Interactive and Square Enix working together on this game. So it's completely different. Yeah, it's theirs, and again, I mean, the mouse has increased their stock 1,000% since '91. You know what I mean? It's like there's no need. They're making money galore right now. There's absolutely no need, regardless of the fact that you only have to look at what they're doing to X-Men and Fantastic Four to realize that they don't want to play. If you don't want to play with them properly, and they can't make they'll what they're doing with X-Men and Fantastic Four in sort of almost like strangling it at the top. So it's like, well, yeah, we haven't got full rights, so we don't want to use it. And they're not going to want to have a character in there that A, they don't make 100% profit off of, and B, they're just, it's at a point where they're more likely to buy sort of Skylanders out than probably Nintendo at the minute. Travis.
Well, the one thing I will point out, and Roger kind of hinted on it, Skylanders would be a better area for them. One, it's something that they could control, and two, the coding is there. The characters are made. Not saying anything's made for Amiibos. There might be a little tiny character or a change in costume. Someone's going to have to code all those characters. It's not like you can just copy and paste the code into the game, because there really is not much code, if any code, for Amiibos. So,
and also, yeah, I think with, like, for example, Disney, in all honesty, I don't think they'd even want to buy Skylanders, because the characters aren't connected to anything. There's no value to them outside of the video game market, and now they've got their own video game market. There's not really. I mean, I couldn't really see a point of it, and that's my personal view. They can't make any characters, the cartoons, movies.
The only reason they would buy the rights to Activision to the characters is to make sure they could control the distribution of the characters and to push Disney Infinity even further.
Yeah,
but they won't do it. It's too expensive.
I think the reason why Infinity is just going to be successful, I mean, even after the bubble, is DuckTales.
The only thing is, I'm going to sort of. I will throw this out there. Yeah. I do think Disney Infinity have got to up their game in terms of the actual game they're producing, because I think the Skylanders games appeal to the casual gamer better. I think in terms of an actual game, I think they messed up with the play sets, and I was talking to a friend last week because I got them Infinity for Christmas, and literally there's like, well, what? And she goes, well, we're kind of struggling a little bit. We don't know what to do. You know, they play around with it and stuff, but it's there's that thing of, she goes, well, I like Tomb Raider where I put the game in and they just play it, and I think that's the key to Skylanders. And I do think Infinity, they might have great figures, but they're going to have to work a lot better on their console, on their game, to keep going. I think they've got to make a lot more improvements to everything, and also better wording of certain things. I think there's too much terminology. It's quite complicated to someone that doesn't know what they're talking about. I don't think Skylanders have that same problem, but I don't. But they've got expansion packs, etc. Amiibos are, you know, they're marketed slightly different, but I do think Disney are going, if in the long run they are going to have to make the game stronger, and I think that's the other thing.
I do think that one of the things that Disney Infinity does have that the others lack is, if anything, there's a presence from the development team that's listening and that's in there. Like, for example, you have Toy Box TV, you have all this information, then you have them available to you online, listening to you on your tweets. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I still completely believe that, we got these Toy Box game discs and, or even figures like Aladdin, we got them because they're listening to the public.
Yeah.
As opposed to Amiibos, you're hearing people, come on, keep giving us more, mass produce, give us more, and obviously you're not hearing a single peep out of Nintendo. If anything, they're saying limited release, sorry. Yeah. Actually, we're probably going to make cards next. It's like it almost feels like Infinity wants to listen to their community more than anything, because it's their community that's going to allow them to survive. Kind of like the whole thing with Trongate. I mean, we don't know what the truth behind that was. Were they actually intending to never produce these figures? I think because of this whole backlash, maybe there's a reason why there might be a future plan for them. Who knows? But again, this is all alleged, or our spin on it, basically. Travis?
Okay, what's your thoughts? Yeah, Travis.
Well, I think, Roger, you have a good, valid point as far as playsets with needing more of a structured gameplay with Disney Infinity. However, talking to a lot of my friends, myself experience included, is I get through Skylanders and I'm done. I had these characters sitting on a shelf until the next game, or I would play to a certain point, get tired of it, and have to come back to it. Whereas, case in point, Abe and I can go in for an hour, play an hour online of not even playing a game. Or just going into the toy box and just kicking the crap out of one another. Skylanders doesn't have that.
No. I mean,
so I see people spending more time. It might not be structured time, but more time in Disney Infinity than Skylanders. And I think the value of the characters in Disney Infinity, to me, is worth the $14, $15, $16, whatever is coming down the road as far as price, because I'm getting more hours of gameplay. You're right, they're not structured gameplay. Abe and I have spent hours in the toy box where nothing happened.
Just messing about.
Yeah, I mean, one day we're literally just beating up enemies or beating up each other. The other day we decided just to race. Then another time, Travis is showing me his creation, and we're talking about what he can do better. And, I mean, it's just so many things you can do in Infinity that, like Travis is saying, you can't do in Skylanders. And obviously, Amiibos don't even tap what Skylanders can do at all. So clearly, they can't do anything.
The only similarity between Amiibos and Skylanders and Disney Infinity is the fact there's actual figures. That's it. There's other than that, there's nothing. It's just... Honestly, I hate people comparing the figures, because Amiibos are not playable figures. They're power discs.
Yeah.
They're glorified power discs, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah,
So,
I think the thing is as well with I think with like Skylanders is they've they've had this sort of game that feels like it was built for 5 years ago. They're still on the Wii, for example. That's still the kind of thing, and they haven't gone into online games. They haven't gone into anything like that, and they've kind of been left out. They've left that whole side of things. You know, you can't fight against each other. You can't do those things, and hopefully, you know, at some point they're gonna have to add that and upgrade themselves. Maybe when they drop the Wii, they can up the game a bit. So that's the thing. But Infinity have this kind of constant stream of content. You know, you have the weekly toy boxes, people sharing. You know, they're going to have these toy box tales coming through, etc. And that's been the key point, I think, as what's keep people in. Is that thing? It's why Minecraft is still so popular. Is because it's on. It's all the time. It's something new, and I think Infinity does that much better. And Skylanders, you know, it's like you say. Once you get those. You get a new character, you might get a new gate you can play, but there's nothing new. There hasn't been anything. There won't be anything new till the new game. Whereas Infinity, I could go on there right now, load it up, and there'll be some new toy boxes for me to play that I haven't played before, and that is the big difference.
the one thing that Disney Infinity could take from Minecraft, Roger, is that like when Star Wars became popular again, the original trilogy, just recently they released Star Wars skins and Star Wars products that were download stuff, you know, new patches, new something that you could purchase. I'm not saying buying characters. I don't think Disney should go down the route of having people that can console people buy characters that are just download. I think the characters need to remain physical, but special toy packs, special even costume changes, something that could be done online to entice people. If they want people online, they need to entice people to go online, not just saying you won't get updates, but entice people to physically connect online. I know a lot of people are, but if they did something where you could purchase certain things, just small things, not even big, not major
like
things.
like a Christmas pack, right? Like a Christmas
pack, a holiday pack, or
Yeah.
an Easter pack.
Yeah, the only thing is to me is that thing with Infinity is they either have to stay physical or they have to be DLC. I don't think the mix of the two is. I think it's too confusing for people. You've got people buying power discs are DLC. You know, they're additional content. Figures are DLC. The play sets and the toy box game. The way they've packaged it as items to pick up has meant that they can't. I don't think they can do the DLC route now because they've. To me, it's like, you know, you can't have the two sides. If you wanted just to have, you know, there's a reason, you know, like Disney Universe, everything was DLC. Little Big Planet is all DLC. Skyline or Disney Infinity went the hard-wired expense. You know, you have a physical product. You've either got to do it one way or the other. You can't have this mishmash of the two. Otherwise, you're alienate. And I think that's, to me, you know, it's like why with the iPads, etc. Of I have a power disc. I'm not going to buy a digital version. You've made me buy the one already. I'm not buying it again. And until that's sorted. Yeah, carry on.
I was going to say what you just said right now is the reason why I think you can do that. It's because, you know, you've isolated your iPad and PC people by saying, oh, you already have a power disc. However, you're going to have to buy it digitally. Well, how is that deterring Disney from saying, hey, you know, we just created, you know, let's say Disney 3.0. These are the power discs we're going to make available. These are the figures we're going to make available. Later on in the road, when they want to add something, they can just say, oh, we have a new, you know, Christmas pack of toys that you can buy for $2.99 on you know, PlayStation Store or Xbox Live Store or whatever. And you can just download those toys. I mean, are they necessary? Are the same question that I say about power discs. Are they necessary? No. Do you need to get those? No. But I mean, you have that option. I honestly think it's possible. But as far as what you said and what Travis said, the figures should always remain figures because that's the category of the video game that they're in. It's toys to life, not digital, you know, download to life, because that doesn't make any sense.
If they got rid of the power discs and went fully, and did the rest of it DLC, I'd be happy with that. But yeah, as you said, the figures are one thing. I just don't like the idea of them doing too much DLC where you keep buying and buying and buying content, and suddenly if you put a video game on the shelf and say, oh, by the way, this is going to cost you $400 this year, no one will pick it up. But it's just, if there's too many options, it will get too confusing and too expensive.
Well, I mean, have we had any DLC on consoles at all for Disney Infinity? No.
No.
Travis, untapped potential.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying that every week they should release new stuff, but I mean, I would have loved and I would have paid if they released a Christmas pack with Christmas trees, Christmas buildings, something that I could put in to my toy box to make it Christmassy, other than Jack's stuff.
Yeah.
I'm talking exterior stuff. Even an unlock, not even saying money-wise. Patch in there a special terrain, a special thing that you can only purchase until the next update. In there, that you could purchase the the Fantasyland tree theme skin that you purchase once with Sparks even, and it's in there. I'm not saying that they have to go crazy as far as dragging people in, but giving the advantage for people that are connected to the internet something that entices other people to say, ooh, I want to connect to the internet. And once you're connected to the internet, then they can go the route where people want them to go, is making 3.0 or future editions fully downloadable from the onset.
Yeah, I think the thing is this thing about trying to get people online. In some ways, there's the last few people that aren't online and looking at it. And Disney probably can't really look at them as something that they have to keep. They can only worry about that for so much longer. The consoles are on the borderline of changing. If your console isn't online, you've restricted majority of your content. You've reduced. Half the games you buy in the store at the minute aren't even going to work properly if you're not even online. And I think it's just the way the game console is moving. If you don't put your console online, then Disney really can't really worry. And Skylanders and Amiibo are the same. They're all these companies are all in the same boat in the fact that they're all catering to families, and there's this kind of thing about we don't want our kids online using video games, but they're gonna. It's a bit like not having a TV and not plugging it into the area or the satellite. It's part of it now. It's going that way. They need to make things safe, and I think Disney have done a great way of kind of making it. You have to be friends, or you have to, everything is filtered. And I think Skylanders will need to do very much similar kind of thing. But that's kind of my view on that one, anyway.
Yeah, I honestly think the vast majority is online already anyways. I think there's very few people who aren't. And the fact is, you can't even use your system if you're not even completely updated, and you need to be online for that. So, yeah.
Disney Infinity on its own without the Internet 2.0, you're not going to have a lot to do, are you? Let's be honest. Once you've got the play sets, there isn't really a lot you could have done. You would have been
unless you're a master toy box builder.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to use the text. You wouldn't be uploading. You wouldn't be downloading. You wouldn't know what else is out there. It would be very restrictive. Travis, want to add anything on that?
No, I agree. Totally agree with you. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just trying to think of ways where Disney Infinity, instead of telling people, look, you need to be on the internet to enjoy the game fully, instead of saying, if you are, here are some fun things in addition to toy boxes, downloading, uploading, and stuff. Yeah. Because we know that certain families out there, aren't touching the toy box uploads and downloads. They're not building. They're just in the toy box with the family and having fun with it. An enticement for them.
I think I always remember back to when they were launching 2.0 was this thing of that you were supposed to be able to complete a toy box and get a reward or unlockable toys. And that never seemed to happen. That never sort of seemed to be something that really come in. And like we said, they didn't really kind of give any free toys away, or little those like you say. I think that's something they've got to look at rather than just trying to but the way they're locking new toys is behind a playset or a game disc or something like that. I think that's how they've gone that route. So you buy a disc and then you get the toys rather than sort of giving it away for free. Okay, so let's wrap up with our final thoughts, really. So going to basically have our final thoughts on the whole Amiibo Skylanders Infinity comparisons. Okay, so let's throw this over.
Let's throw it to Roger, actually.
To me. Okay, right. So in comparison, just sort of looking at the free game consoles altogether, the free games are very different. The free sort of platforms, they're very different formed. Skylanders is a very traditional route with loads and loads of figures, loads of variants, and in some ways, I think it's starting to look a little bit dated. It needs a boost. Infinity has got fantastic characters which are uniquely known. They've got that instant thing, and they are moving more into an online place where the toy box. They're kind of going more into the Minecraft area, leaving the sort of the traditional video game zone behind. They want to be it does feel like they want to be an online game rather than the old-fashioned thing, and that's where I think it will go. And then you've got the Amiibos, which have kind of gone in an entirely different direction entirely. The figures are, like we said, when you put them all next to each other, they all look very similar. But the actual video games are very different. It'd be a bit like us just saying, we've got Grand Theft Auto, we've got, Call of Duty, and we've also got Smash Brothers. They're all very completely different games, but because they've all got figures, they've all been lumped in together as the same sort of product. And I think that's pretty much kind of comes in. The figures are the same, the games are so different. That's kind of my ending. So, throw that over to Abe.
My turn. Okay. As far as the three go, I mean, they each have something unique to offer. Personally, obviously out of the three, clearly I prefer Disney Infinity. It's just my obvious choice, and it's not because I'm biased. It's because it's just the amount of things that are offered. I mean, for those who play Skylanders, you just have a main game. Well, you have play sets in Disney Infinity. You have toy box game discs that that you can actually even though they're not too story driven, they are still somewhat driven by story. I mean, you have your sandbox mode or your toy box mode, however you want to call it, where you get to build and you have your own creation. And then, not to mention, you're able to play with your friends for lots of hours, and honestly, you can do practically anything to entertain yourself with it. But I mean, Amiibo, it's cool that they decided to jump into it. For a lot of those who don't know, Skylanders actually approached Nintendo to actually do a Nintendo exclusive game called Skylanders, and they said no. And I think it's a good thing that they said no, because obviously now we have this big category. So obviously, Skylanders paved the way, and so that's one thing that I am grateful for, Skylanders. But Amiibos are just glorified power discs. I like them as far as collectible toys. Do I want them for gameplay? No. Am I happy that they're extremely limited? No, because I wanted a Lucario and I couldn't get one, and that's because of a franchise that I like. But regardless of the fact, Infinity is family friendly, and that's ultimately why. What's up?
I said, well, they're all family friendly.
No. See, let me get to that. Infinity is family friendly, and the only reason why I say that is Amiibos are hard to acquire. If you really want one that your kid really wants, you're gonna have to pay out of the nose, as Travis said. Skylanders, they're not family friendly in the sense that there are way too many different ones, and parents are part of that family, and parents are gonna have to pay out of the wazoo for that. Disney, however, obviously, for us, us three, we like Disney Infinity, we want to collect them all, but you really don't have that need with Infinity. If there's a franchise you like, you go for those figures, and you can play the game without it. and you can play without having to buy a power disc, or you can play the game without getting playsets if you like building stuff, or you can just play playsets if you don't want to build stuff. I mean, you can do so much with it. And the fact is, ultimately, you have franchises that you could continuously build off of, ones that we don't know about yet, ones that are in our past. You have Marvel, you have these guys. I mean, you have so much untapped potential with Infinity that it's limitless possibilities, even though Tron Gate. Travis?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to echo some with what Abe said as far as Amiibos. I have a hard time, even though they are toys, I have a hard time even placing them in the Toys to Life category because I don't consider them actually being Toys to Life. They are, as Roger and Abe have put it, glorified power discs if you compare them to Disney Infinity, or traps in Trap Team if you compare them to Skylanders. I really don't see a Toys to Life category. They're accessories. So I really can't count that. Being a person that probably is close to a completist for Skylanders, I have currently still over 200 characters. Out of those 200 plus characters, a lot of them are repeats. So that's getting to be ridiculous. There doesn't seem to be any stopping them from putting out 50 plus characters a year. If we had 50 plus Disney Infinity characters per year, people might get overwhelmed. We don't. We have 30-ish per year. Seems to be enough for me. Seems to be not enough for some people, but again, collectors. That's how Disney can expand their every year, only putting out a certain amount of characters and successfully doing it. They have said they're not going to just reissue a character unless it's necessary. Like if we get a Jack Skellington in the future as Pumpkin King Jack, that'll be one thing. But they're not going to release Jack Skellington again.
Yeah, he's still in the store. The normal one's still there.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is Disney Infinity's not going to go out every year and say we're going to release Mickey Mouse every year in a different pose.
Yeah.
Like Amiibos and Skylanders are doing.
Yeah.
If they're going to do it, they've said there's going to be a reasoning. They've never said we're going to put out a new version of Mickey, but they said or whatever. But they said if they will, there's a reasoning behind it, and it's not just a repose. It would be a different character.
Yeah, I mean, luckily they kind of dropped off the whole sort of crystal variant. We have got the Spider-Man variant coming up, but it kind of it's a different kind of thing entirely. But I think if there's only one, if they only do one variant a year, that's not a major problem. But there we go. I think we've had a nice bumper edition of this one. It's loads of stuff there to discuss about. Love to know your comments. You can comment below. You can let us know on the Facebook groups, on Twitter, etc. Remember to check us out at DisKingdom.com. Again, if you're on iTunes, hit that subscribe button and give us a review. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe and hit the thumbs up. If you've made it this long, you're quite a way in. If you've got this far in. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Travis is holding up his Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, Abe, I'm doing this for you, buddy.
Unboxing video.
Unboxing video.
I got jealous of you having yours out. So yeah, so now I got my Sonic. There he is, in all his glory.
I feel left out now. Oh whoa! Oh what
Roger,
a shame.
we're now the Sonic Squad.
That's right. I'll just play with these dudes for 2 more weeks.
Yeah. Rub it in, fun.
No, actually, Roger, you do have some Amiibos at home. They look like this. It's for all those iTunes listeners. I'm holding up a power disc.
Yeah, but you're
okay.
But Abe, you can't level up your power disc to level 50 apparently. I really don't understand.
Oh, anyways.
Anyway.
Last thought, Travis. What's your last thought? What were you gonna say?
He's too concentrated trying to work out what an Amiibo is.
My
Wait, my last thought. I have a last thought. DuckTales.
DuckTales. Yes.
No,
that
don't
was,
think, don't think.
That was my last thought too. DuckTales.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Bit of a different show this week. It's kind of that dead zone we're in where there's not a huge amount of news before we get some more information. But anyway,
Roger,
guys.
Roger.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Well, sorry. I just want to let everyone out there know that this past weekend, Toys R Us had a really big sale on power discs. So if you go to our Facebook group, Infinity Beyond, presented by DisKingdom, or Infinity Beyond DisKingdom.com, a lot of our users, or a lot of our group members, have a bunch of their extras up for trade or sale over on that group page. Great place to get power discs you need for 1.0, only cheap. So just head on out there if you can. It's just a great place to buy and sell and trade anything Disney Infinity. But this past weekend we had a lot of people buy a lot of those discs, and they're more than willing to help people collect or complete their 1.0 series sets pretty cheap. So.
Okay, guys, I think that pretty much wraps up this week's show. Again, thank you very much for watching. We shall see you guys later. Adios, amigos. We're all loading up our characters. We've got Darth Vader, Falcon, and... There we go.
I am your daddy. Call me